Do you notice that when your child is reading, they are skipping over words consistently? And when you stop and ask them to reflect on what they have read, they don't know. Yeah, they're not going to know because they're skipping over those words and it's actually disrupting comprehension. So, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you 3 strategies that you can use to improve reading fluency, even if you have a beginner reader or a child who may have other reading challenges. Hi there, my name is Kashina Bago, a certified educator, now at home with the assignment to disciple and homeschool my children. So, on this platform, I empower and equip mothers to homeschool their children with confidence, as well as raise children that love the Lord, learn well, so they can walk wholeheartedly in their purpose. So if you have not yet done so, please do subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments if you are homeschooling, what are the ages of the children that you're homeschooling, and what are some reading struggles that you were seeing on this homeschooling journey. Comments if you are homeschooling, what are the ages of the children that you're homeschooling, and what are some reading struggles that you were seeing on this homeschooling journey. So let us get into it. What are 3 strategies that you are able to use to increase reading fluency? So before we begin, let's talk about what reading fluency is. So, reading fluency is the ability to read a text accurately, quickly, and with expression. So, let's get into it. Tip number 1: short and sweet. Even before your child starts to read, they see the passage, and guess what? It brings frustration. Your child may start to harbor thoughts such as, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this. And at this point, their main goal is to rush through the task and go back about their day, right? And you're going to see that with that rush, they're skipping words. So if you're a homeschooling mama, or even just a mother who desires to see their child improve in reading fluency, the first step is to make sure that your passages are short or concise. The last thing that you want is for your child to be bored and overwhelmed. Short and sweet. Now let's get into our next strategy, and that is have your child read aloud while touching the words. So, touching the words is formally called finger tracking. And I always taught my past students and even my children that words have feelings, right? And you have to feel them in order to know what they're saying. And again, this was all in efforts to eliminate the habit of skipping over words. So, what finger tracking does is that it helps your reader's eyes stay on the words. Beginner readers or struggling readers, they often lose their place. They either go too far back or they're jumping too far ahead. So, finger tracking provides a clear visual anchor so the eyes know exactly where to look. It builds that one-on-one correspondence, which is extremely critical for decoding and comprehension. So in this next section of the video, I would like to model how finger tracking look, or I should say touching the words, right? And in this particular example, I noticed that my 5-year-old Nathan, a homeschooler, he's often jumping over words. So he is considered a beginner reader, even though he's reading 2 to 3 grade levels ahead. But as he is learning to read, he tends to skip over words. So in this video, you're going to see how we actually use finger tracking, again, to improve on reading fluency. And let me also say this, it does not necessarily have to be on paper, because even in this example, we were using the computer and he was able to track on the computer. So it's really about using whatever material is accessible to you or whatever material your child feels comfortable with. So let's go see how Nathan does this.
When I pat the parrot, pat parrot.
Pat parrot, good.
This forest has many bright colors. I see gold, red, and green under a blue sky. Say pat, and I hear Words?
Wrens.
Winds making beautiful music. I don't. This.
So, strategy number three is what I call familiar to unfamiliar. So you can begin to work on fluency by having your child read passages that they're comfortable with to increase motivation and to build confidence. But over time, to truly assess the skill, you will want to transition to a text that is unfamiliar to the child. Let's think about it. When a child is too comfortable with a book or a text, they know which words are coming next. They will be reading more on automation versus anticipation. So, what that means is that they know what's coming next. They're familiar with the story. So, it's not really taking much brain power for them to read and decode the words, versus when they're reading a text that is unfamiliar. Now they're more engaged to touch those words, to read those words, and make sense of those sentences. And what you can do, mom, is that as they're reading small sections every two sentences, you can come up with a question to test reading comprehension, right? So even as they're going and they're touching the words, you ask, okay, what color was he wearing? So again, you can start with a text that the child is familiar. It builds confidence, it builds motivation, it makes the child comfortable with reading. But as they are mastering or they have enough knowledge in how to finger track, then you can begin to move to texts that they're unfamiliar with. All right, mamas. So in this video, I provided three proven strategies to help your child with reading fluency, specifically when they are skipping over words. So the first one that we spoke about was make sure that the passages are short and sweet. And also the passages, you want to make sure that they're tailored to your child's interest. If your child is interested in trains, you don't want them reading about beaches, right? Especially in the beginning stage. Or if your child is not a beginner reader, but they're still struggling with reading, you still want to make sure that they're reading something that they're interested to read. Later on, as they have developed those skills, you can expose them to various texts, various genres, poems, and different items. In my description box, you will see some free resources of texts that are short and sweet that will help your child with reading fluency, especially from kindergarten to grade 5. I will have some resources in the description box for you to review. The second strategy was touch the words and read aloud. All right. And last but not least, or third strategy was start off with familiar text, but the ultimate goal is to shift to texts that are unfamiliar, again, so the child could move from automation to anticipation. All right, mamas, thank you so much for watching this video. Please, again, let me know in the comments what are some reading challenges that you are seeing with your child, and what are some strategies that you have been using to increase reading fluency. But guess what? I will see you in my next video. You take care. Bye bye.